guys, and welcome to today's video. My name is Marcus Hustle and I run an OnlyFans Management Agency. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I would do if I had to restart everything from completely zero. So I thought I'd just create this one video that will actually show you exactly step by step what you need to do to actually start running an online business that will start making you about £10,000 a month. It's actually not that difficult once you understand how this business model works. Because it's so new, there's not a lot of people doing it, there's not a lot of competition, and it's a great time to actually get into it. Besides the point, let's just jump straight into it. So as you guys can see on the screen right now, this is the entire mind map. Of course, as I'm going through it, I'm going to be removing these little white rectangles to actually reveal each step. And it's going to be in a chronological order from left to right. So from left is where you're just starting out, to right is where you basically have everything completed, okay? So if we just zoom in and we start from here. So the first thing you guys will need to obviously do is build a brand, all right? Obviously, a little side note as well, a couple of things that I haven't written on here, which is like the obvious things, such as like you should have a logo, you should have a name for your agency, and you should have some sort of an online presence, maybe like a website, a funnel, a landing page, maybe just an Instagram page, you know, whatever it is, you should have something online that you can obviously show people who you are, what is it that you do. Also, another little side note as well that I haven't mentioned on this little diagram here is the fact that your first couple of clients, at least for me and most of my students that I teach as well, most of your first couple of clients will be kind of friends that you already know, right? Maybe some girls that you met in university or college. Those are typically going to be your first clients that you will work with, only on the basis that you already know, like, and trust them, and they know, like, and trust you. And you don't necessarily, it's not a completely random person that is going to be a bit skeptical about you, and they're a lot easier to work with, right? Because you already have that pre-existing relationship with them. Besides the point, let's get into it. So the first thing that you guys want to focus on is actually, you know, building that online brand. This isn't actually completely step one. Like I said, if you are just starting out, you can easily get your first couple clients with no online presence, right? Like I did for myself. I didn't have any posts, any videos, anything of that nature. However, if I was to go back now, like with the knowledge that I know now, and if I was to go back and if I was to have no connections, if I didn't know anybody that would want to do OF, this is what I would do. All right, so I would actually start creating online content, just giving free value, free advice on how to actually grow OnlyFans accounts. It's kind of also, I think the saying is like catch 21 or catch 22. I don't know what the fuck the saying is, which is like, well, how are you meant to teach and give advice on something that you haven't done it before, right? This is also why I suggest just try and work with somebody that you already know. Maybe, like I said, a girl from college or university that you met like quite a while ago, and just to get you some experience, right? If you can't do that, just watch a bunch of my YouTube videos. I give quite a lot of free advice. We have a webinar that explains everything as well. You'll start to understand the basics of it, all right? Cool, anyway. So this will kind of be your top of funnel, right? So you're gonna be posting a lot of content on social media. What I'd recommend you really doing is go heavy on short form content. So Instagram Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts. And then on YouTube, you should be posting at least one long form video a week. Every single week, there should be one long form video, which is basically the one that you're watching right now, right? So this is a long form video of me explaining how this whole thing works. You should do a similar video like this about maybe how to grow your OnlyFans on TikTok, on YouTube, etc., etc. So that's gonna be your top of funnel, right? So just so you guys know as well why we do this. For example, for me, I get probably about 5 to 10 messages every single day of girls who have watched my YouTube video, maybe seen my TikTok, a podcast of mine, whatever it might be online, and they're interested in working with me, right? If I never created this content for free online on social media, they would have never found me, they would have never been interested, they never would have messaged me. So this is a way to actually get inbound leads, pretty easy, okay? Cool, so that's kind of step one, right? The next thing that you guys will need to do is, of course, drive all of this traffic to somewhere where you can convert it into a call booked. Because obviously the whole point of you the way you're going to be able to get clients is by actually first of all interviewing them on Zoom or whatever software you want to use, just an online call basically, where you get to learn more about them, like why do they need an agency, what are they struggling with, what could they improve, where are they currently at, so on and so on. All right, now before you do that, you need them to go somewhere in order to book this call, right? So there's loads of different ways. One, of course, is just your website. Maybe you have like a landing page, a funnel, that's going to be probably your best bet. Secondly is create some sort of an online community, right? Whether this is Telegram, Facebook, Discord, whatever you want to choose, you want to create an online community where you're posting all your social media content, and then on those videos, you're advising everybody to check out your free community. For example, in this video, I'll do it right now. We have our own free community for agency owners like yourself. There's about 20,000 people. We have it on Discord. It's completely free to join. And there's, like I said, 20,000 people that you can network with, ask questions. There are some people that have found their business partners in there, which is quite crazy. And that will be in the link description as well. If I haven't added it, remind me in the comments and I'll send you guys a link. But besides the point, what you want to be doing is posting a bunch of content with one call to action, and that is to then go somewhere, right? Like I said, that will be either your website or a community that you want to build. For long-term, community is better. For short-term, website will convert a lot faster. All right, cool. So that's that. Then after that is obviously you want to try and then book them in for a Zoom call. This is a very simple kind of an interview, if you want to call it that, with this potential model. This is where you're going to jump on a call with her and just simply get to learn more about her journey. Like, where is she actually? Is she just starting out? If she is, then obviously there isn't much to learn. As you know, she's just starting out. Most of the case, though, she won't be. Most of the time, at least for us, we speak to models who have been doing it maybe for a couple of months, if not a year or two, and they're struggling with something. Typically, it comes down to either like content or marketing or getting more subscribers, right? And if that's the case, then just ask her, right? Just ask her why. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you struggle with content? Why do you think you struggle with marketing? Is it something that you don't know? Do you not have the time? And it's your job to really figure out what is it that the client thinks they are struggling with, right? So you should never, ever try and tell them what you think their problem is. You should always try and find what they believe the problem is so you can solve it. The easiest analogy that I learned when I was younger is, if you go to, let's just say you have like an illness or like a headache, for example, right? And you go to a doctor. If you go to a doctor and you sit down in their office, the doctor isn't just gonna sit you down and straight away prescribe you with like some sort of a drug, right? That would be fucking weird, right? The doctor would first of all ask you, well, what kind of pain is it? Where is it? How often? And asking you loads of questions. The reason for that is because then he is able to better understand what is the actual cause of the problem to then prescribe a drug to fix that problem, right? Pretty simple. Kind of the same analogy that we use with our interviews. We simply just ask questions until we think that we understand what the client believes to be the issue so we can better solve it. Cool. So that is Zoom. You can do like Google Meeting as well if you really wanted to. Same fucking shit. So just use whatever you want. The next thing that you guys should have in place as well is you should have an email and a text reminder sequence set up to increase show up rates. Because I think a lot of people are struggling with this. You should not just like speak to a potential model through DMs, book her in for a Zoom call and then just leave it for that. And then let's just say today's Monday, right? And you book the call for Friday. You shouldn't just like leave the prospect just waiting until Friday. One, she'll probably forget. Two, she doesn't know anything else about you guys, so she's probably not going to show up. And yeah, the main one is she's going to forget, right? Which is just normal. Everybody does. Instead, what you should do is you should set up some sort of an automated sequence with emails and text messages that go out to the prospect just to remind them, number one, like, hey, we have a meeting coming up in 2 hours. Hey, we have a meeting coming up in 20 minutes, right? With text messages as well. But then not only does it work as a reminder, you can use it as an indoctrination sequence. What that really means is you're indoctrinating the prospect into your world. So you're getting them to understand about who you are, what do you do, what's your story, what have you achieved before. Now, obviously, if you're just starting out, you might not have like a load of case studies and results. So just focus on who you are and what you provide, right, in these emails and text messages. Eventually, once you have enough testimonials, results, and case studies, all of your email sequences should just be about that. Because again, I mentioned this in a previous video, without trying to sound too rude, nobody really gives a fuck about you, especially when you're starting out. Everybody always cares about themselves, right? So in your emails, you should talk to them about what you can do for them rather than who you are and why you're so great and why you're the #1 agency. Because to be bluntly honest, nobody will ever give a fuck. I'm being honest. I learned that the hard way, all right? So yeah, focus on what you can improve in their world, in their life, and they'll be more likely to read your emails and interact. Cool. Cool. The next one as well, before we move on to the next step, is you should also be using a CRM to keep a track of all your leads, your no-shows, follows up, etc. CRM stands for Client Relationship Management Tool. It's just a fucking nerdy, fancy term for organizing like a spreadsheet, basically, right? I've added the logo here of Pipedrive because that is what we used to use back in the day. It's a really simple tool. It's like $12 a month, really easy to use, and it's not expensive. It's like $12 a month. The way you want to use this is whenever somebody books in an appointment with you, you always want to add them into your CRM, and then whatever the result is, whether they show up, whether they don't show up, whether they show up but they don't sign up, or they show up and they sign up, you should always keep a track of absolutely everything, right? To give you an example, if somebody books a meeting and they don't show up, well, it's your job now to follow up with them and just see, hey, what happened? You interested? You're not interested anymore? Because again, it could just be a case where the girl booked in a call with you guys, was super excited, but then just something came up, right? Something, family emergency, maybe she just forgot, whatever it might be. She might still be interested, but just there and then at that time that you booked the meeting, she was not able to attend. Pipedrive or just a CRM is a must-have because it will increase your conversions by a landslide, right? This really is going to have a black and white difference. Cool. So by this point, we've covered social media content, top of funnel, how to get in front of more eyeballs. Then you're driving that traffic to somewhere, which would be either your funnel, your website, your landing page, or a community that you're building. Then from there on, the next step is obviously to book them in for a call, a Zoom call. And from Zoom, there's two things that will happen. One is they'll be added into a CRM. And then the other thing is they'll be sent emails and text messages just to remind them about the actual meeting itself, all right? There is another thing that you could add here, which is a bit more high level. You don't need to, but we have another step in between here and the next step, which is a thank you for booking page. So after the girl goes ahead and books in the Zoom call, she would then be redirected to a whole different website with a unique video that will explain to them, what they can expect from the call. Again, a bit about who we are, what have we done, what have we achieved, and just manage their expectations about the Zoom call coming up. And it will just answer a lot of their questions rather than jumping on a Zoom call and answering the same questions over and over. You can just create it into one video that'll answer all the questions in one go. Moving on to the next part. Then here we have the contract. So by this point, you've obviously done a Zoom call. Let's just say it's all gone to plan and the model is happy to sign up with you. At this point, you then need to obviously send her over a legal contract to sign. This just ensures everything is safe from a legal point of view from your side and the model side, because you don't want to get into any trouble, especially in this adult industry. So you want to make sure you have a legal contract written out. And that's something that we provide in our program, by the way. In our course, we teach you everything that I'm showing here, but in a lot more detail, of course. We give you the exact scripts. We tell you exactly what to say on a Zoom call, for example. We give you the emails and so on and so on, right? And a contract, of course, as well. However, if you don't have that, you can go to a law firm, a lawyer, a solicitor, and they can type something up for you. It will cost a little bit, but I promise you it's a worthwhile investment. Okay, so cool. So by this point, the model has read through the entire agreement. She or he has gone ahead and signed. And at this point, technically, well done, congratulations, you have your first client. It's really is that simple. It really isn't that complicated. If you come from like SMA, which I did, by the way, that's a bit of a backstory about myself. I used to do SMA for like 4 or 5 years. SMA is a lot more difficult to get a client than this because you have way more competition. The prospects that you're reaching out to have got like a sour taste in their mouth about a marketing agency, and so on, right? And also most of them are broke. In this instance, because they have to pay you up front, by the way, right? Like SMA, they have to pay you like $2,000-$3,000 up front and then you do the service. And this is the opposite. One, supply and demand is heavily in your favor. There's not that many OFM agencies out there in comparison to how many models there are. Two, most of them haven't had an agency before. And third of all, the model does not have to pay you anything up front. So it's not like a hard sale, right? All she has to do is give you a percentage of what you're gonna make her anyway. So without you, she wouldn't have made that money anyway. So it's not like she's having to pay something out of her pocket. All right, pretty simple. Cool, moving on to the next part then. So after she has gone ahead and signed the agreement, you now must actually have a clear and precise onboarding system in place. And this is something that the model can go through and give all of the needed information so you can start helping her scale her income. So this is another huge mistake that a lot of beginner agencies make and just avoid, is actually having like an onboarding process and a system in place. What a lot of people do is they'll go out of their way and do all this hard work and do a lot of outreach and a lot of calls and interviews. They'll finally get the prospect to sign an agreement and start working with them. And then it's just like, there's just no process. There's just no process to it, right? The model is just waiting for you to message them. You don't know what's going on. She doesn't know what's going on. And you got to realize that first impressions are fucking the most important. So you got to make sure that as soon as the contract is signed and the model actually becomes a client of yours, from there on, there is a very clear and precise process that has to take place, and it's the same every single time. Where, just think about it logically, right? What would you need from the model, and what would the model need from you for you guys to start working together very, very efficiently, right? I'm not going to go through it all in this video because we have all of this explained in a course in extensive detail. We give you everything that you'd need, but just to give you some ideas, right, and some examples. So things like, what kind of content is she happy to create? When is she able to create the content? What does she need help with? When is she available for calls, checking calls, so on and so on and so on, all right? And obviously you need your login details for OF, maybe social media if you wanted to manage her social media, and so on and so on, all right? So that's the onboarding process. It's very important. Please don't fucking skip that, because otherwise you'll fuck everything up. The next part is the actual onboarding call. So by this point, this model would have filled out an online form, which would have given you all of the details that you would have needed to start managing her. And now, once she's filled it all out and she's answered all of your questions that you need to know, now it's time to actually jump on the first Zoom call with her, where she's actually now a client of yours, all right? So again, this is very fucking important. Make sure you are professional and how you, talk about yourself, your agency. You don't wanna, it's not all fun and games. Like, at the end of the day, it's this girl's income that's on the line, right? And it's your job to fucking make sure you do a great job, okay? So you need to really make sure that your onboarding call is absolutely 10 out of 10. You need to make sure on this onboarding call, you set expectations very, very, very clearly, okay? This is the biggest thing. That's pretty much the most, the biggest reason why we do an onboarding call is just to manage the expectations, all right? So to give you an example, okay? Have you ever ordered anything online, or have you ever emailed like a big corporation like Amazon, for example, and in the email, you write an email, whatever, and they'll reply back with like an automated email that will say, we'll get back to you within 2 to 4 business days, all right? I'm sure something along those lines has happened to you before, right? Without you realizing it, what they've just done is they've managed your expectations. They have told you now, we will get back to you within 2 to 4 business days, right? And in reality, by the way, now thinking back at it, how often is it that it says 2 to 4 business days, but in reality, they get back to you within like a day, right? And all of a sudden you're happy. Now, here's the thing. If they never said 2 to 4 business days, and it took more than 1 day for them to reply, you would be so pissed off, you'd be so angry, you'd be like, oh my God, this service is so slow, blah, 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 right? But because they managed your expectations and they said you can expect a reply within 2 to 4 days, but they reply within 1 day, you feel like, I know you probably don't consciously think about this, but that's just how it works. So with managing expectations for your OF client as well, you need to explain to them that, what is it going to be like working with you in terms of communication, earnings, what can they expect from you, and so on and so on. Now, I get it. If you're watching this and you're just starting out, you're probably thinking, right, Marcus, this sounds great, but how the fuck do I even know what to, how do I know to manage their expectations when I don't even know what to expect? I get it. When you're starting out, there's a lot to learn, right? There's so much that you need to learn. This is why I provide coaching, because it will just save you a lot of time, and I'll tell you what you can expect and how to manage everyone's expectations. But if you want to do it by yourself for free, be my guest. It's just you will have to probably spend like a year or so to really understand everything, so you're able to manage people's expectations a bit better, all right? Cool. Moving on to the next part then. So this is where you'll be connecting a chatter with your model to help her manage her DMs, right? Because that's where all the money is actually at, in the DMs. And then also at a higher level, you'll also be connecting your manager, who'll be designated to just helping this one model with her social media marketing and everything else in her day-to-day work, right? So yeah, when you're just starting out, just focus on finding a chatter. And now obviously when you are literally starting out, like this is your first day, I would actually recommend you doing the chatting yourself. Yes, it's fucking weird, and you're gonna be introduced to this whole different world that, yeah, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad, right? Because you will literally be, talking as the potential model. However, like, you do need to go through in order to learn what does it look like from the chatter's point of view. The reason why you need to know that is because when you go to hire a chatter, you need to be able to train this chatter and qualify them and see if they know what they're talking about. Because if you're starting out and you have no experience in chatting and you just want to hire a chatter, this chatter might be really terrible. The chatter might not have any idea what they're doing, or like a tiny bit of experience. And to you, they might seem like they are godsend, like they know everything there is about OFM. But in reality, there might be a complete time waster. In comparison, alternatively, if you were to do it yourself for like only about 2-3 weeks or like a month, that will give you enough experience and knowledge to know what is right and what's wrong, what works and what doesn't work. And then you're able to hire somebody to do this shit for you, all right? You don't have to, but that's just my personal recommendation. I'd recommend you to do it yourself for a bit. And the next part that I was mentioning here, as you guys can see, I was talking about at a higher level, you can be connecting a manager that was going to be designated to this model as well. So what do I mean by that? So this would essentially be like an account manager, somebody who is in charge of managing all of the different chatters and all of the social media and just the marketing aspect of that model, right? So this manager, this can be a whole different video I can create in the future, but this is really about like kind of more higher level. This is when you're doing like 20,000-30,000 a month. Then you're able to hire people like this. But when you're starting out, you are the manager, right? You are the one that's managing it all, keeping a track of everything, keeping the model accountable, and making sure the content is being produced on a daily basis. So moving on to the next part then. So again, just to recap it, by this point, you would have done a lot of content, top of funnel, you would have led all of that traffic to a website or a community, you would have booked in a call, they would have been added to a CRM and would have been reminded by emails and text messages. This model is happy to sign up with you. He or she would have signed a legal contract. She or he would have then gone through an onboarding process, had a call with you, and been connected to a chatter or a manager from your agency. And now the next step is to send over the content plan, all right? Both not safe for work and safe for work content plan. And you need to provide this to the model and keep her accountable and make sure that she's doing it every single day, right? So NSFW and SFW, you're gonna hear these terms very often in any adult industry, to be honest. And it means what I just said earlier. So NSFW means not safe for work, and SFW means safe for work. What does that mean? If you're wondering, safe for work is basically something that you can post on social media, and it's basically PG, it's social media friendly in essence, right? Not nude, nothing to do with porn along those lines. And not safe for work is, well, as you can fucking imagine, right? It's anything goes. So why do you need to have two different plans? And also just another little side note, just because I want to try and help you guys as much as possible. Typically what you'll find is your not safe for work and your safe for work content plan is pretty much the same. But for example, your not safe for work content plan is the same as safe for work content plan, but just with clothes on, pretty much, right? So think of it that way. Obviously there's quite a lot of differences in terms of what does a girl actually have to do in the content, but again, I'm going to leave that up to you guys. This is where your imagination comes in, and I also believe that this is what differentiates between somebody who's going to be really good at this industry and somebody who's not going to do a great job. It's just how creative are you, right? The more out there shit that you create and the more out there shit that you produce with your models, the more money you're going to make, right? If you just create the same thing that everybody else is doing, well, people aren't going to want to come back to your model's account because they've seen it before. But if it's something different and unique and new, it'll get people to come back. So this is very important. Make sure you have at least some sort of a content plan that you can send across to your model so they know what they need to be creating rather than just them mindlessly figuring it out every single day by themselves. Because again, remember, they've signed up with you for a reason, not just to connect a chatter to their account, right? Cool, the next part then, moving on. And yeah, I mean, by this point, you would have successfully onboarded a new model, and the process can be repeated unlimited amount of times to grow your company, right? So everything that I've just went over previously, from content to a website, to a Zoom call, to an onboarding process, to a call, to a chatter, and a content plan, that whole thing is a system that you can repeat over and over and over. You can get a new client to come in and go through the whole process, and you would have ended up right here, all right? And the rest of the steps that you do from now on will entail you helping her grow her earnings. And there's dozens different ways of doing it. In this particular video, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different ways that I'm going to cover here in just a second. But there's way more than this. In our course, I believe there's probably about 20, if not more. There are literally tons of different ways of actually doing this. And also, just before I uncover these parts right here, which is like the most important parts, if you don't mind, please leave a like on this video. I whenever I'm watching YouTube videos and like this person's like, hey, leave a like on a video, I'm like, shut the fuck up, just move on. But I get it now. It doesn't make sense. Like, one, it's motivating if you guys leave a like on a video. It means that you actually enjoy this video. I can make more of these. And two, it just helps me grow my YouTube channel, and it kind of in my head makes me think, all right, this is actually worthwhile doing. Because right now, me making these YouTube videos is a complete fucking waste of time, kind of. But at the moment, obviously, I'm just doing it to help people and I guess build my brand. But I could be doing something way better that would make me a lot more money than these stupid little YouTube videos. But I think they're quite fun. I like it. I like helping people. So if you don't mind helping me out, literally just leave a like. It takes fucking half a second. I appreciate it. Anyway, let's go back to this. So this is the most important part of this entire video, right? So how do we actually increase the earnings, right? So you sign up a model, fantastic. What do you do now, right? And there's a couple of different ways. So first one, which is the most common one, obviously, this is why this is the first one, is social media marketing. I'm sure most of you guys will probably already be doing it, or if not, like, you'll understand what it is. It's just posting short form content on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. You can even test, obviously, Twitter, Reddit, and there's so many other different platforms. But in a nutshell, figure out what's working for other creators and just multiply it, right? Pretty much to get your model to do the same content. Also, if your model is in a specific niche, so for example, let's just say she's a gamer, she creates gaming videos on YouTube, for example, we'll find another creator who is similar and look at what kind of content is working for her and get your model to recreate it, all right? So social media marketing, I'm gonna keep this nice and short because it's so fucking simple and it's the most common one. And also it's pretty fucking time consuming and it's not as high of an ROI as the other ones. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one is doing collabs with big influencers. Again, this is gonna be easier the longer you do this. So the longer you do it, the more of a brand you will have and the more connections you will have as well. The beautiful thing with this business model as well is it's pretty much all a word of mouth. So a lot of the models that we work with right now, pretty much all of them have been through referrals. The ones that come to me through like social media, like these YouTube videos, most of them we don't work with ourselves because they're just starting out and then they're not quite making the money that it would be worth our while to manage for our team. So, however, the models that are worth our time are the friends of the girls we're already managing, all right? So the longer you do this, the more you're gonna be connected with these influencers, right? These high follower profiled accounts. And that's where you can organize actual collabs with your model and this influencer. And that's really, really good. That's gonna blow your model's account up because all of their followers are gonna check out your model's account, and then all of a sudden you get 100, 200, 300 new subs in one day. Cool. The next one is GG's. So in a way, this is like my favorite one out of all of them, simply because it's quite literally guaranteed. As you can see, it's in the name. So GGs, or guaranteed gains, if you're completely brand new, this is another term that you'll hear very often in this industry. So GGs stand for guaranteed gains, but what that is it's basically a paid shout out with guaranteed amount of new subscribers to your model's OnlyFans. So how does it work? Let's just say your model is a blonde girl, kind of like a Barbie looking girl, like a cheerleader girl. So yeah, that's like her niche, right? That's what she looks like. Your job would then be to find another OF model with a larger following than your girl, go to her who looks similar to your model. By the way, the reason why she needs to look similar to your model is because her audience will like your model as well, right? In comparison, alternatively, if your model is like a 19, 20-year-old blonde girl and you go to a creator who is, let's just say 40, 50 years old, completely different audience, different market, if she was to do a shout out for your model, it wouldn't really work that well, all right? So that's why you want to go ahead and find another model who's similar looking and has the same audience as yours, and then simply figure out how much would this model charge for a guaranteed gains shout out. Typically, in terms of pricing, it really, really does vary. So I'm going to leave that completely up to you guys. Have a little look around, but you shouldn't be spending more than kind of $500-600 per guaranteed gains shout out. And as you can see, it's in the name, it's guaranteed gains. You're guaranteed to get subscribers. It's not like you're gonna wish for it or hopefully you're gonna hit it. It's literally guaranteed. I have another YouTube video. I'm gonna try and pop up a video somewhere around here. You can click on it where I explain what are guaranteed gains and how do they work. It was on a podcast that I recently went on and I explained it all in there as well. Cool, now going back to this. And the next one is paid forms of marketing, such as paid Instagram shoutouts. So I guess kind of both of these are the same thing, but the reason why I separated it is because GG's is always, well not always, but mostly it's just on OnlyFans. So for example, like a model will have 10,000 subscribers and you will pay her to shout out your model on OnlyFans, right? On her wall, for example. Whereas with this one, what I mean by this is more like Instagram, Twitter, things like that. So you're gonna go to other girls who have 100,000, 500,000 followers and so on and so on. And you're gonna ask them how much do they charge to shout out your model on their social media, all right? Maybe you might go to like meme pages as well. Another little piece of advice I can give you really quickly. Have you ever been on social media and you've seen like this, have you ever followed like these meme pages like, I've unfollowed all of them because it's so toxic. I fucking hate it because it's such a waste of time. But I think there was one called like Hoodville. What was the other one? In the UK, there's one called I'm Just Bait and so on and so on. So these big meme pages, right, with like millions of followers. Go to pages like that and see how much they charge for a shout out for your model. But the interesting thing is, don't just get them to post a picture of your model because people will know that's just clickbaity, right? It's just a model. Like this girl does OnlyFans. Most people won't click on it. Give them a reason to click on it. Make up some fake story. For example, you can make up like a fake story where this model was like an ex-teacher at a university and she slept with one of her students and now she's fired or something. And make like a whole fake news article about it and then get them to promote that. That works really, really well. I may or may not have done it. I'm not saying that I have. So just think outside the box, right? Rather than just getting some Instagram page to shout out your model's account, right? Just try and think outside the box. Cool. The next one is Hub. I'm gonna let you figure out what that means. As long as your model is happy to advertise her OnlyFans on other tube platforms. I don't think I really need to explain this one. I'm sure you guys will probably understand what the fuck I mean by that. I mean, think about it. These guys are already on these platforms for a reason, right? So just figure out a way how you can advertise your model on there without giving it all away. That's what I'm gonna leave you guys with this one, but this one works really well as well if you execute it the right way and you stay consistent. Cool. Next one is start upselling Skype calls in the DMs. It doesn't have to be through Skype, so you can figure out other ways of doing it, but our models would always use Skype. And this is just something that you can upsell in the DMs. You know, you can upsell a 5-minute, 10-minute Skype call with one of our subscribers for $200, $300, $500 like per call. And imagine if she does a couple of those per day. There you go, there's a couple grand that you made per day. And talking about extra kind of income here, the model can also start doing live streams on OnlyFans every week for some extra income. As you can see, the logo here is like spin the wheel. Because what your girl wants to be doing on these live streams are playing some sort of like a game on live stream. So spin the wheel is the easiest example I can give you guys for free. We have, I think like 7 or 10 different games that we teach you guys and what you guys can get your models to do online on live streams. But in a nutshell, your model wants to go live on OnlyFans. And then whenever somebody joins and watches a live stream, they can tip her and then they can join and play this game. So spin the wheel is pretty easy. On the wheel, and there's loads of different cards on there with like different prizes, and the guy just has to tip her $20, $50, $60, and per time that they tip, the girl just spins it, and then whatever it lands on, they win that prize. All right, I'm gonna let you guys use your imagination what the prizes can be, and that's pretty much it, right? So like I said, this is just a quick overview, and I've tried to make it as simple as possible. Like I said, there's a couple bits obviously that I missed out, such as like the thank you for booking page, and there's a couple more obviously staff members here. There's also, I haven't spoken here about payments. Obviously, there's so much that I can't fucking squeeze it all into one YouTube video. There's way too much, right? So if you're interested in learning more, and this is a business model that maybe you'd want to get into, I promise you it's way fucking easier than anything else out there, like dropshipping, e-commerce, SMA, you name it. I can probably tell you why this is easier. So if you're interested, like I said, there's a free community in the description below. We have an entire free webinar for 1 hour that teaches you in more detail about how I got started, my story, and it teaches you also some more practical pieces of advice that you can take action on. That will be the link below as well. Other than that, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like I mentioned earlier, please leave a like. I really do appreciate it. Comment below if you have any questions, what other videos you'd like me to create, and I'll get back to you guys then. Cool. See you next one.